Welcome everyone to what is undeniably one of the most unexpected, electrifying, and culturally significant moments in recent tennis history. We're looking at a situation unfolding right now in the California desert that has tournament organizers, veteran tennis analysts, and global fans completely stunned. Indian Wells, a tournament widely respected and affectionately known as the Fifth Grand Slam, is experiencing a seismic shift in its atmosphere, its demographics, and its energy. The entire Indian Wells tennis garden is shocked, and the reason is a young, phenomenally talented woman from the Philippines. Thousands upon thousands of Alexandra Ela fans have descended upon California, ready to completely fill the stadium, creating an unprecedented wave of support that is threatening to turn this prestigious American tournament into a home game for the Southeast Asian sensation. To truly understand the magnitude of what is happening today in the Coachella Valley, we have to look at the traditional landscape of this event. Historically, Indian Wells attracts a very specific, subdued, and traditional tennis crowd. It is a haven for purists who sit quietly under the desert sun, offering polite applause for brilliant shot-making. But today, the traffic on Interstate 10 tells a very different story. Reports are flooding in of miles-long backups, not of the usual desert weekenders, but of caravans decorated with the brilliant blue, red, white, and yellow of the Philippine flag. This is not just a crowd, this is a movement. The massive Filipino-American community, which has deep and sprawling roots throughout Southern California, from Los Angeles to San Diego, has mobilized in a way the tennis world has never seen before. They have bought up tickets at a record-shattering pace, overwhelming the secondary markets and causing a frenzy at the box office. The stadium grounds are transforming into a vibrant, roaring sea of national pride, reminiscent of the legendary atmospheres usually reserved for Davis Cup finals or the absolute peak of international soccer, not a WTA Tour event in the middle of the American desert. For those who might just be tuning into this phenomenon, you might be asking yourself why there is such an overwhelming, almost hysterical level of support for this young player. Alexandra Ela is not just a tennis prospect. She is a trailblazer carrying the sporting hopes of over 100 million people. Born in Quezon City, she embarked on a journey that few from her region have ever dared to take, leaving home at a tender age to hone her craft thousands of miles away at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. She is the first Filipino player to ever win a junior Grand Slam singles title, a historic feat she achieved at the US Open. But junior success does not always guarantee professional stardom, and the transition to the women's tour is notoriously brutal. Yet, Ela has navigated this treacherous path with a quiet, lethal determination. She has fought her way through the lower-tier ITF events, battling in obscure locations without the roar of a crowd, just to earn the ranking points necessary to stand where she is today. And now, arriving at Indian Wells, she is no longer the quiet prospect playing on the outer courts. She is the main event. The shock rippling through the Indian Wells establishment is palpable. You have tournament directors and security personnel scrambling to adjust to an environment they frankly did not prepare for. The energy is infectious. Vendors are selling out of merchandise. Practice courts are mobbed to capacity just to catch a glimpse of her warming up, and the traditional quiet murmur of the tennis garden has been replaced by rhythmic chanting, drums, and an outpouring of sheer joy. This level of fanaticism in tennis is incredibly rare. We have seen it briefly with the ascent of superstars like Naomi Osaka or the legendary runs of Li Na, but the mobilization of the Filipino fanbase for Alexandra Ela feels distinct. It is deeply personal. It is the culmination of years of watching one of their own struggle, sacrifice, and ultimately conquer the highest echelons of a sport that has historically been dominated by Europeans and Americans. This staggering reality we are witnessing, is merely the surface of a much deeper, more complex narrative about globalization in sports, the power of diaspora communities, and the incredible, undeniable talent of a young woman who is poised to turn the tennis establishment completely upside down. Now, let us dive deep into the anatomy of this moment, examining the technical brilliance of Alexandra Ela, the strategic landscape of the WTA Tour, and the profound cultural implications of this stadium takeover at Indian Wells. To understand how she commands this level of attention, we must first dissect her game, which is a fascinating amalgamation of classic grit and modern power. Ela is a left-handed player, which immediately gives her a distinct tactical advantage on the tour. The left-handed serve, naturally tailing away from the right-handed opponent's backhand on the ad side, is a weapon she has refined meticulously. But it is not just the serve, it is the brutal, heavy topspin she generates on her forehand. Training under the watchful eye of the coaches at the Rafa Nadal Academy, and often receiving guidance from the legendary Spaniard himself, it is impossible not to see the stylistic inheritance. Her forehand kicks off the court with a vicious bite, pushing opponents behind the baseline and dictating the geometry of the rally. However, unlike some players who rely solely on heavy spin, Ela possesses an incredibly flat, penetrating two-handed backhand. This wing is her sword, allowing her to change the direction of the ball down the line with stunning pace and accuracy. When you combine this heavy, Spanish-style forehand with a flatter, aggressive backhand, you have a player who can adapt to various surfaces and opponents. And Indian Wells, specifically, is a tournament practically built for her style. The courts here are known for being exceptionally slow, high-bouncing hard courts. The gritty surface grips the ball, allowing her topspin to maximize its effect, causing the ball to jump out of the opponent's strike zone. Furthermore, the dry desert air allows the ball to travel faster through the air, giving her aggressive shots an extra punch. It is a perfect storm of environmental conditions meeting a perfectly tailored skill set. But physical tools are only half the battle in professional tennis. The mental fortitude required to step onto a stadium court, knowing that thousands of people have traveled specifically to see you, to carry the flag of your nation, is an immense burden. Many young prodigies have crumbled under the weight of such crushing expectations. What makes Alexandra Ela so utterly compelling is her icy demeanor between the lines. She possesses a veteran's composure. When she faces a break point, she does not rush. She goes through her routines, bounces the ball with deliberate precision, and executes her game plan. This mental toughness is born out of the unique pressures she has faced since childhood. When you are heralded as the future of your country's sporting legacy at 14 years old, you are forced to mature rapidly. Every junior match she played was scrutinized by national media, every victory was celebrated as a national holiday, and every defeat was analyzed intensely. She has been forged in the fire of national expectation, which means the massive, roaring crowd at Indian Wells is not a distraction for her. It is fuel. Let us also examine the current landscape of the WTA Tour and where Ela fits into this puzzle. The women's game is currently in a fascinating transitional phase. We have established dominant forces like Iga Swiatek, whose movement and heavy spin make her nearly unbeatable on clay, and power players like Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina, who can serve opponents off the court. But below this top tier, there is an incredible volatility and opportunity for young, hungry players to break through. Ela represents a unique threat to this establishment because her game is so difficult to read. She is not a one-dimensional ball basher, nor is she strictly a defensive counterpuncher. She is a tactical chameleon. She can grind from the baseline when necessary, looping heavy balls deep into the corners to neutralize power, but she is equally capable of stepping inside the baseline and taking the ball early to rob her opponents of time. This tactical versatility will be tested severely at Indian Wells. The draw is ruthless, packed with top-tier talent from the very first round. For Ela to make a deep run here, she will have to navigate a minefield of experienced veterans and fellow rising stars. But consider the impact of the crowd we have been discussing. Tennis is an incredibly isolating sport. You are out there on an island, alone with your thoughts, your doubts, and your opponent. When momentum shifts against you, the silence of the stadium can be deafening. Now, imagine playing against Alexandra Ela in this environment. Every time her opponent hits an unforced error, the stadium erupts. Every time Ela hits a winner, the noise is deafening. The psychological pressure placed on whoever stands across the net from her will be immense. We have seen crowds pull players back from the brink of defeat, injecting them with a surge of adrenaline when their legs feel heavy and their lungs are burning. This Filipino-American crowd in California is not just spectating, they are actively participating in the match, serving as an emotional anchor for Ela and a psychological hazard for her opponents. The economic and cultural implications of this moment cannot be overstated either. The WTA and the ADP are constantly searching for ways to expand their global footprint, to tap into new markets and attract new generations of fans. Asia has long been a major target for this expansion. While countries like China and Japan have successfully produced Grand Slam champions and hosted major tournaments, Southeast Asia has remained largely untapped potential. Alexandra Ela is the key to unlocking a massive, sports-crazed demographic. The Philippines is a country that passionately rallies behind its athletes. We have seen how boxing legend Manny Pacquiao brought the nation to a standstill every time he fought. Traffic would disappear, crime rates would drop to zero, and the entire country would collectively hold its breath. Ela is beginning to command that exact same type of devotion. For the tournament organizers at Indian Wells, this is a golden opportunity. The sudden influx of thousands of passionate fans translates into massive revenue through ticket sales, concessions, and merchandise. But more importantly, it elevates the global prestige of the event. It creates a viral moment. The images and videos of thousands of Filipino fans waving flags, singing songs, and completely taking over the tennis garden will be broadcasted around the world. It sends a powerful message that tennis is not just a country club sport for the elite, but a truly global game capable of inspiring deep, grassroots passion. Sponsors and brands will be taking eager notes. The marketability of a young, articulate, immensely talented, and fiercely supported player like Ela is astronomical. She is a brand ambassador's dream, bridging the gap between Western sporting traditions and Eastern cultural pride. Furthermore, we must look at the impact this has on the grassroots level of tennis back in the Philippines and across Southeast Asia. For decades, young athletes in these regions have gravitated towards basketball, boxing, or badminton, largely because tennis is an incredibly expensive sport with limited infrastructure in developing nations. Buying equipment, paying for court time, and eventually funding international travel for tournaments is a financial barrier that keeps countless talented kids from ever picking up a racket. But visibility changes everything. When a young girl in Manila or Cebu watches Alexandra Ela walk out onto a stadium court in California, greeted by the roaring adoration of thousands of fans, a seed is planted. It proves that the dream is possible. It validates the sacrifices of parents who scrape together every penny to buy their child a pair of tennis shoes. Ela's success will undoubtedly trigger a surge in tennis participation in the Philippines. We will likely see more investment in public courts, more funding for development programs, and a new generation of players who grow up trying to emulate her heavy topspin forehand and her unyielding competitive spirit. As we analyze the depth of the story, we also have to acknowledge the incredible support system behind her. The journey of a professional tennis player is rarely a solo endeavor, despite how it looks on the court. It requires a dedicated team of coaches, physiotherapists, and, most importantly, family. The sacrifices made by the Ela family to support Alexandra's dream are profound. Relocating, managing the intense pressure of junior tennis, and making the difficult decision to send her to the Rafa Nadal Academy required immense faith and vision. This moment at Indian Wells, surrounded by a sea of her compatriots, is a validation of every difficult choice they have made. It is a shared victory. The Academy in Mallorca also deserves immense credit for recognizing her raw talent and providing the elite, grueling, world-class environment necessary to refine it. They did not just teach her how to hit a tennis ball, they taught her how to be a professional, how to manage her body, and how to cultivate the relentless champion's mindset that is synonymous with the Nadal name. The combination of all these factors, her unique playing style perfectly suited for the desert conditions, her extraordinary mental resilience forged under national pressure, the unprecedented and overwhelming support of the Californian Filipino diaspora, and the immense cultural weight of her success, creates a narrative that is simply captivating. This is no longer just a story about a tennis tournament. It is a story about representation, about the global village, and about a young woman stepping fearlessly into her destiny. The shockwaves currently reverberating through Indian Wells are just the beginning. The tennis establishment is being put on notice. A new force has arrived, and she has brought an entire nation with her to the gates of the tennis elite. Every match she plays here will be an event, a spectacle of sport and culture colliding in the most beautiful way possible. As we look ahead to how this incredible story will unfold over the coming days and weeks, the excitement is simply uncontainable. The atmosphere here in California has been permanently altered. The thousands of Alexandra Ela fans who have turned Indian Wells into a sea of national pride have proven that tennis is capable of evoking a raw, tribal passion that transcends borders and traditional sporting norms. Whether she wins the tournament, makes a deep run to the quarterfinals, or faces an early exit against a seasoned veteran, the victory has already been secured. She has commanded the attention of the world. She has shown the tennis establishment the undeniable power of the Southeast Asian market and the fierce loyalty of the Filipino people. For the fans watching at home, whether you're a lifelong tennis aficionado or someone who has never watched a single match before today, this is the time to pay attention. You are witnessing the birth of a global superstar. You are watching a young woman carry the hopes of millions with grace, power, and an unyielding competitive fire. The courts of Indian Wells will forever remember the day the Filipino fans took over, fundamentally changing the heartbeat of this prestigious tournament. We will be here to cover every massive forehand, every crucial break point, and every deafening roar from the crowd. Make sure you stay engaged, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below letting us know where in the world you are watching from, and keep supporting the phenomenal rise of Alexandra Ela. Thank you for joining me for this extensive breakdown, and enjoy the phenomenal tennis ahead. Would you like me to analyze her potential matchups for the next round?